I've been a bit intimidated by the 3rd edition character creation, so I'm going to be doing things slowly. I've created one character, and this is an elven ranger called Leah Nightbreeze. I think this miniature's female, I can't remember, but there she is. Chaotic good ranger, level 1, 135 years old. So I've rolled her up, and she's going to go on a little solo adventure before she joins her comrades in the town of Oakhurst. So I found these on eBay, and I'm going to have a bit of a look at them to try and create a little solo adventure. I'm just going to shuffle these cards without looking at them, and then pick one at random, and hopefully that will suggest some kind of adventure. The Dragon's Heart. That sounds good. So I'll try and do something with that. A level 1 ranger isn't going to fight a dragon, but we'll work something with it. These are some of the other pictures in these story cards. Really good for fantasy themed games. Oops. All sorts, really. Nice selection of evocative images. And the thing with these is they all come with some text on the back, which gives you some more ideas about what you might use them for. Now these look sort of tarot card size, I guess. Not that I've ever physically seen any tarot cards in real life, but I assume they're about this size. I don't feel that these are... They don't have the same vibe as tarot cards. I don't feel they're quite like that. I don't feel uncomfortable about dealing with them. They're just fantasy pictures with little story suggestions on the back. And for instance, this one says, "I live outside my master's body, making it difficult to kill him. Why don't I melt my box and my chains? What is my most fearsome power? Where are the keys to my padlocks?" So you could use that as a sort of story suggestion. I backed this on Kickstarter, and it's full of useful stuff. It's called Into the Wyrd Wild, and it contains loads of monsters, but it also contains rules about dealing with wilderness adventures, which are quite neat, really. About using your money and supplies as strictly supplies, so 1 gold piece equals 1 supply. So that sort of gives you an idea about how you can, your resources in the wilderness, how you can survive from day to day. And you have to do tests about the different aspects of survival during the night, which shows how exhausted you end up. And obviously exhaustion can kill you, just as lack of food and lack of water. But you can go hunting. There's rules about that. There's rules about going crazy and getting lost. And there are loads of really strange monsters, and they're the kind of monsters where I think a games master would really enjoy using them on their players. They'll probably be useful also for solo, as interesting creatures to come across. But the sort of surprises that they have would suggest to me that they're really ideal for a games master to pounce their players with and surprise them. But you have also rules about creating wilderness adventures in the Wilderness Dungeon, as it's called, and there are some good tables at the back here and there are some suggested little locations that you might come across to give you ideas. So that's available as a PDF, and it's quite neat. But when creating a solo adventure, it's best to use the things that you've got rather than listen to a video on YouTube telling you go out and buy this, go out and buy that, because you don't need to buy this and buy that. You know, I've fallen into that trap and ended up with a book or two or a game or two that just wasn't up my street. And for solo stuff, it's really great that you can just use anything you might have or anything cheap that you might find on eBay. So yeah, don't rush out and buy things. Just look through them yourself, do your due diligence, as Rob says on Artichoke Dip, and see if things might be right for you. Otherwise, just use what you've got. What I'd like to do with this series eventually is to start going through these adventures for 3rd edition using maybe 3 characters or so and seeing how they work. I really enjoy reading this one and putting together how it might work as an adventure for 3 characters in a solo game. So that's my ultimate plan, which might be good, might be good, might work, might not. But for these solo adventures, I'm just going to try and come up with something on the fly. Now, I haven't used the story cubes in a while, so I'm going to give them a quick roll, see if they can come up with anything to help with this adventure. So looking at these, I have no idea what this is. As some kind of shark boy? No, I don't know. But we've got a cave here, we've got a ray gun, which isn't much help, unless we just think missile weapon. Perhaps Leah has been commanded by her, the king, not the king, but the leader of her elven village, the sheriff, whatever, to find a cave before the sun sets. Is some sort of protection she might need or she might find, and treasure. Perhaps that's the treasure, or perhaps perhaps the missile weapon is the treasure. Perhaps she needs to find protection from being befuddled. I really don't know what that is, but yeah, perhaps she needs to go into the woods to try and find a cave where there is some kind of weapon or armour treasure that she needs to find. Perhaps it's been stolen from the head of her village, or one of the warriors there. And perhaps it's an heirloom or something, and it needs to be rescued. And perhaps she needs to use protection against some kind of mind control danger. So we'll try and go with that. And looking at this picture, it looks like that this is perhaps in some sort of cave beneath the roots of a tree in a forest. This strange object can perhaps ward off dragons or something, and she needs to find it. So we'll go with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is roll up a random trail. Now these are D50 charts, which is a bit weird, but I happen to have a D5 because I play Dungeon Crawl Classics and I'm strange, so it just seems an odd choice, but there you go. Maybe there's a simple way of figuring out a D50 roll that I'm not aware of, but I'd go with this. 41. Trees are carved with the same strange symbol. It unnerves you. Perhaps it's something to do with the dragon heart. Perhaps it's a strange rune which represents a dragon. So that could tell her that she's on the right path. Going for a bit of flavour on this trail which she's walking, I'm going to roll on these charts here. Okay, so what does the trail smell like? 10. A droning noise, like that of a single colossal hornet, surrounds you. Well, okay. Now I think we need to come across some kind of encounter. I'm going to roll up a location for the first encounter, and we'll see what happens. This is actually a D100 roll. 68. Petrified forest. Great trees devoid of branches rise high into the air like archaic columns. A touch is all it takes to reveal they are made of stone. A fossilized grove millions of years old has somehow withstood the test of time. There are markings on these trees, as we discovered. Markings made when they were still alive in eons past. By whom may never be known, but there is great power in something as old as this. That sort of fits with what we rolled earlier. Now I've looked through some of the monsters, and I'm looking for a one-hit dice monster to be our first encounter. And I've come across these shamblers. The smell of sweat, tears, filth and despair, a moaning of someone utterly broken, and a pair of plodding, wretched footsteps. A human, filthy and wretched, steps forward like a drunk or a sleepwalker. Its clothing is decayed to nothing, and its flesh shows signs of disease and degradation. It moves towards you with a spark of malice. Its pathetic form can't disguise the hatred it feels for you. The wilds take a strange delight in breaking mortals. Those poor, lost and lonely masses who find themselves trapped in the darkened gut of the woods are broken down into nothing more than husks of their former selves. These people, devoid of any dreams or emotions they once had, are filled with despair and a hatred of the unbroken. They carry their diseased and twisted bodies into the dark parts of the wilds, bemoaning their fate, hoping to die. So, these creatures, she's an elf ranger, so she detects them from a way off. And she can see these shapes moving through the darker parts of this forest. Okay, I'm just going to use 2 of these shamblers, which are actually zombies from Castle Ravenloft, because even low-level monsters can be a problem if there's too many of them for a first-level character on their own. So, and due to her being a ranger, she can spot them, so she gets a bit of an advantage. Otherwise, she might get killed very quickly. So, she's able to fire at them before they approach, and then I'll go into initiative after that. I think I'm going to give her a free shot, basically. Excuse me, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll just roll the initiative now, and they get 13 initiative. Okay, so they will go 13. She will go 9. So let's roll for the other one. Okay, one of them will be faster than the other, and but she will get off a free shot. So with her bow, she gets plus 4. 20. That's a nice crit, and that is times 3 damage. So she hits that guy, easily beats his armor class of 10, and she rolls her 1d8, 9 damage. That's enough. So she shoots him. Now it's this guy's turn. He can move 40. So each of these squares is 5 feet. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, yeah. Unfortunately, he can move in for attack. And he will roll a 10. That's not enough. Now, she's going to have to change her weapon from her bow to her sword. So she's going to change her weapon and have to try and fend off the shambler in this round as best she can. So the shambler attacks and misses, so she now has her sword ready. Rolling for 6 plus 1 is 7. That's not good enough. The shambler attacks again. A 9, that's not good enough. 16 plus 1, that's 17, so she hits. And rolls a d8. 5. And now 5 hit points, so she's defeated the 2 shamblers. Before I finish off this video, Leah is going to just press further in through the petrified forest, and we might come across another encounter. And that is 10. Bristlepine Grove. Ancient gnarled pine trees looking more like dignified shrubs grasped tightly to the side of their scree hillside. So she's come across a bit of a hill. They are ancient beyond measure, the stories they could tell of a world long gone. Okay. But perhaps we could come across an NPC. I decided that she's come across this strange old man, looking a bit wild and ragged, but I'm going to use the actions dice to see what's going on in his mind. So what I'm going to go with from this is that this character here is scared that something's going to fall from the sky. He fears that he's not got much time to prevent it. He is carrying a book, and he keeps tearing out a page, setting fire to it with his magic, and then burying the ashes, because he thinks that's what will ward off the coming apocalypse. And he gives Leah a well, earlier I used the 5th edition trinket table to give Leah a trinket to carry around, and it was the wooden box with the ceramic bottom with a worm inside with a head at each end. So that is what this guy is going to give to Leah. That's where she can get it from. And but apart from that, he's harmless. Just an eccentric old man she's found in the woods. But I don't want the video to get too long, so I'm going to pick this up next time. Thank you very much for watching.